Hi, my name is Tony Jose and today I'm going to present about hazard identification at workplace. As we all know, regardless of the working atmosphere that you are in, there is a high chance that you will come across one form or another form of hazard. These hazards could vary greatly from being capable of causing very minute injury to even being one that could possibly take away one's life. In order to avoid any such mishaps, we need to implement and follow certain precautionary measures. This would eventually ensure that person working on the equipment or environment comes out unharmed. It can be said that it is the combined duty of employee, employer, Ministry of Labor, or any other concerned authority to ensure that there are proper rules and regulations to prevent hazard and also make sure that these rules and regulations are strictly followed. Ideally, it can be said that proper identification of hazard paired with installation of necessary protective equipment could ensure a safe working environment. First of all, let's try to understand what is meant by hazard. According to the Collins Dictionary, a hazard is defined as something which could be dangerous to you, your health or safety, or your plans or reputation. When considering a normal working environment, this could vary in different forms. For instance, there are numerous machines that could pose risk for anyone working on it. Take the case of a laser cutting machine. Depending on the frequency wave at which the laser operates, the continuous exposure of its radiation will be hazardous to the person operating it or even being in its working envelope. On the other hand, even having no machines at all, the structural construction of your workplace itself could become a hazard. Uneven grounds or steep slopes are examples for this. Besides from these common identifier hazards, there are several others that could potentially harm you physically or mentally. Let's take a look at some of the common workplace hazards. The most common workplace hazards can be broadly classified into six main categories. Physical hazards. This category of hazards include physical components like loud noise from machines, radiations emitted, electromagnetic field or stored potential forces, and so on. The next one is chemical hazards. This category includes hazards caused by exposure to harmful chemicals. This could happen either due to continuous exposure to chemicals in working environment or even due to accidental leaks. Another type of hazard is ergonomic hazard. These hazards mainly affect the musculoskeletal system. These are caused by continuous and repetitive movement that is required during work or even the specific way the employee is seated at their workplace. Another type of hazard is biological hazard. These hazards are caused by either bacteria or viruses. This might originate from the working environment that requires handling of such biological components. Psychosocial hazards. These hazards are caused by workplace stress and violence and it is very common across all sectors of work. Another type of hazard is safety hazard. These hazards originate from not having proper machine guarding or in the case of machine malfunction or equipment breakdown. Before further analysis, let's have a look at the rights that every employee has when working for an industry. Particularly being in a working environment that poses hazard, every employee has the right to refuse to work if they find that they are not properly protected. Also, they have the right to demand for proper training before working in any hazardous environment. In addition to that, every employee has the right to demand for the most updated and accurate information about all the different hazards that are present in their workplace. Apart from all these, the employees have the right to partake in any form of health and safety activities that are provided by the internal or external sources. It is the responsibility of the employer to ensure that every employee does have necessary amenities to exercise their rights. Also, it needs to be ensured that the employees are well aware of their rights and are never denied of them. Now let's have a look at the identification of hazards. In general, hazard identification can be considered as the process by which we evaluate any specific equipment, situation, or item to identify its potential to cause possible harm. This process as a whole can be called as risk assessment. The process of identifying hazards greatly vary depending on the type of hazard we are assessing. It could be something that is easily identifiable, as in the case of machine noise and vibrations, to something that is not visually noticeable, as in the case of biological hazards or something like stress. There are several stages for identification of hazards. The next slide explains all these stages. The hazard identification can be done at various periods depending on the situation that we are in. First and foremost, hazard identification can be done at very early stages of designing and implementation. Depending on the possible hazards, the process can be designed to avoid them, and appropriate machinery with proper safeguards can be purchased. In the next stage, hazard can be identified before performing a task with conducting general checks on machines and checking safety equipments. Further, hazards can be identified when operating the machines, if the operator or the technician notices any changes or abnormalities. Also, hazard could be identified on conducting proper inspections. Finally, hazards should be mandatorily identified after any incidents are repeated, regardless of the occurring injury being minor or major. For better understanding of workplace hazard, let's consider the case of injuries that occur at a construction site. This data is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the year 2014 in the US. From the pie chart, it is evident that the major cause of injury is from falls, trips, and slips. This high injury factor can be attributed to either the workers not being properly trained or due to the unavailability of proper signboards that warn the workers about the potential hazard. The next big contributing factor is transportation incidents, which can also be connected with improper training and carelessness. In order to avoid or at least reduce the injury from these two major factors, it must be ensured that all employees are regularly trained, and also employees along with the Labor Ministry must ensure that the employees follow the safety regulations. Also, periodic audits must be conducted and additional safety regulation should be added as required. Let's consider another case study where the number of hazards that occur at a workplace is considered for the year 2018 in a typical Chinese production environment. Here it can be noticed that the major contributing factor for causing injuries at workplace is the workshop environment itself. This can be associated with improper installation of machines due to the flaw in designing of workplace. It should also be noted that the accidents from metal cutting machines are also high. In general, this high number of hazards in workplace can be connected to the lack of proper training and awareness about workplace hazard. Had they been properly trained, the working environment would have been designed with better safety measures, and proper safeguards and signs to protect workers would have been used. In the final case study, we are comparing the injuries across different sectors in Ontario for the period of 2010 to 2014. Here, the study is done based on calculating the time that is lost at work due to injury. It needs to be specially noted that the time lost to injury at manufacturing plants have stayed high across the time period in comparison to the time lost to injury for all other sectors combined. This points out to the very fact that it is manufacturing industry that needs to have higher attention to avoid workplace hazards. However, a positive that we could take from this data is that the rate have progressively decreased over the 4 years, and the disparity between the manufacturing sector and all other combined sector have also come down. Now let's take a look at the methods to tackle workplace hazards. There are several methods by which hazards at workplace can be avoided. The main 4 methods that could be used include elimination or substitution. Here, we use a machinery that poses less hazard in comparison to that is in use now. Another category is engineering control. This method utilizes installation of safety measures such as emergency stop, safeguards, or proper ventilation. In the figure shown here, it can be noticed that there is an emergency button available to stop the machine instantly, and also there's a plastic safeguard that is used to protect the operator. Another category is by using administrative controls. With this method, the process or procedure of manufacturing is modified to avoid hazards. Final method is by using personal protective equipment. This includes all sorts of safety equipments that protect the operator. A couple of examples are shown in the figure, which includes safety glasses and gas mask. Now let's look at some methods to identify and avoid hazards. One way to do that is by checking injury and incident records. On checking, we could implement corrective actions to ensure that these are not repeated. Another criteria is to check if the installed safeguards can be bypassed intentionally or unintentionally. If so, they must be modified accordingly. Also, in the case to improve the ergonomics, we could analyze how tasks are being performed. In addition, employees must ensure that proper labels are installed and employees have the proper training to understand them. There are several duties that the employees need to follow to successfully eliminate hazard. In the case of employees, they should always use personal protective equipment that is provided. Also, they should follow all the health and safety procedures. Moreover, all the work-related accidents that happen during the work period must be reported, and employees should comply with all the oral and written directions given by Health and Safety Department. In the case of employees, they should give proper information on hazards present at workplace and train employees accordingly. Also, they need to conduct regular inspections and keep accident reports. Utilizing all this data, employers should also modify the health and safety policies with time as required. To conclude, every workplace does pose one or another form of hazard. It is the duty of the employers as well as the employees to work together towards identifying them and eliminating or at least reducing its intensity. Also, the Ministry of Labour should actively conduct periodic audits to ensure that all industries follow their rules and regulations, and should also update their rules based on this data. With the availability of all possible methods to safeguard workers from hazards and regular updated training, workplace injuries due to hazard can be eliminated.